Hey, thanks, Nicole. Okay, here is the 11 key issues that we're going to talk about today briefly in each one. Delivering our brand promise, our core competency of governmental affairs advocacy, education, core competency, compliance, core competency, how we better utilize the League Service Corporation, which is the QSO owned by the League that Terry runs for us. The cooperative ad campaign, credit union awareness, which is a collaboration issue. Staff development for our staff, which kind of came out of our staff meeting in November. I'm going to talk about chapters. We got a problem with chapters in this state. We got to deal with it. Chapters are a very important extension of the Virginia Credit Union League. A lot of what we try to get done in this state happens through chapters. And we need to look at the chapter system. I'm very, very aware we've got 2 chapters here today that do a pretty good job. But there is some work that needs to be done there. We're going to talk about the Richmond office. Moving our organization to Richmond. We're going to talk about board governance. We just went through that about 5 years ago. The board went through. We did a town hall meeting on that 5 years ago. And obviously we'll talk where we are in dues and that sort of thing as well moving forward. So let's get after these 11. I think most of you know about 5 or 6 years ago we came up with a marketing or our brand, hired an outside group to come in, spent some significant dues dollars to develop our brand, and I think we're continuing to develop that today. That's one vision, one voice, with the brand promise of leadership, vision, and trust. Our 3 kind of legs of the stool there, and obviously our commitment is the credit union's premier resource helping them fulfill their mission and best serve their members, because credit unions are the only groups we serve. There is no one else. This may come as a shock to you, but hopefully not, and I'll explain it a little bit. I don't believe the Virginia Credit Union League has really ever had a detailed marketing and communications plan. And I don't want to suggest to you that we didn't market to credit unions or we didn't try to communicate to credit unions. What I'm suggesting to you, we didn't have an overall plan that cut across every division and department within the Virginia Credit Union League to do precisely that. So we have developed our marketing communications plan that we're beginning to utilize as we work with credit unions individually, as we work with chapters from all our divisions and all our departments. And that's an internal document. Actually, we haven't shared that with the board yet. We're implementing. They said to go get that done, and we have, and when they meet in April, we will share that internal document. And I think that's going to pay big dividends for us, which ultimately pays big dividends for you. You're going to see us much more on message, much more consistent across the board. And this goes all the way down to our chapter liaisons working with our chapter. We have Dorsey, who's the chapter liaison with Southside. We have Karen Sherman, who's our chapter liaison with Richmond here today. And the point being is, when we're in a chapter meeting saying something to credit unions in Richmond, we're saying the same thing to credit unions in Northern Virginia, the same thing to credit unions in Southwest Virginia. And we're going to be much more on message. And we're going to communicate our successes and share strength. It kind of got defined at the board planning session like this. The Virginia Credit Union League needs to pound its chest. We need to tell you when we do a good job for you, and we do a lot of things for you every day. And I'm amazed sometimes to go in when I'm talking to credit unions, and first of all, a lot of board of directors don't know what the league is, don't know what we do, and there's still some CEOs in this state the same way. We got to change that. So we're going to be much more aggressive from our staff to you, telling you when we do a good job for you. And we've already begun to implement some of these things we'll talk about to do that. Because we realize we only solely exist to benefit you, and that's our vision, strength, and priority. This is our team that's going to work on delivering on our brand promise. Nicole Lewis and Don Lindley. And we're going to get after this question, what I get for my dues. And that's not a bad question, by the way, for board of directors and CEOs to answer. But the point is, I want to have to answer that less and less and less over time. Because I want credit unions to know what you get for your value of dues, and the question never even has to come up in the future. And it's coming up too often, too many times, in my opinion. And that's on us. That's not on you. That's on us. So we're going to increase our awareness, understanding the league brand and brand promise. And we've got to attack our affiliation rate. We have 19 non-affiliates. We're still from a number standpoint, 90% of our credit unions are affiliated. That's still, as you look across leagues in the country, still a very good affiliation rate. We have 19 credit unions in this state that have decided they don't get value for the dues. They can go it alone. And the fact is, they can't go it alone. There are a lot of things we're doing for them, and they've got to come to the table and get back with the league. So we're working on that with a lot of programs to raise our engagement level. Here are some of the things you might notice. In the past, we'd send you out our dues invoice, and that's what you'd get from us. And our CEO would either say, well, I like the league, I'll send it down to the CFO and we'll pay that and keep with the league, or I don't know what I'm getting for my league dues. I get this bill every year. What is that? And I understand if you're sitting on the board, hey, we're paying this association dues. What do we get for that? So hopefully you saw we had a membership renewal packet that went out that kind of pounded our chest and told you what we did for that this past year, so that you could communicate those if people ask questions what we were getting for dues. We're doing town hall meetings. We've got our VP of Member Services. Part of her job is to be out there meeting with you, find out what's on your mind, bring that back to our staff, and get it to the right person so we can address that. And that's not only on our VP of Member Service, it's also on our management team, whether that be Terry, David, myself. Now, I've had some credit unions say, well, Rick never comes by and sees me. Well, that's probably true. But I will tell you this, and I've told it at every town hall meeting, if there's any credit union in this Commonwealth of Virginia that needs to see me personally, or board of directors, just email me or give me a call, I'll be there. But I will admit to you trying to schedule, and I still get to try to schedule that too if I think I need to see you as well. But I just want to let you know that I'm available to do that, as is our entire management team to do that. And they're out doing that as well. We'll be doing more documents on dues at work documents. We put the CEO orientation back in for those new CEOs in the state. We have 11 of them that have been new CEOs in credit unions here over the past 15 months. We're bringing them into Lynchburg last week of this month. And Dorsey's bringing them in so that they can get acclimated to the league and what we do and what value we add. We want to do some more of that with staff volunteer. I know there's some small credit union outreach groups that have developed, one here in Richmond in particular, and we're trying to support that through our staff as well to make sure we can be of assistance there. We obviously are on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, that. We want to expand our social media. And I'm pleased to announce today we're going to overhaul our entire league website. We've heard from credit unions and we say, hey, you got a lot of information out there, but my God, it's hard to get to it. So Lewis and Nicole and Dawn are working on that to redo our league website to get it into our core competencies, which is governmental affairs, compliance, education, top of the mind, get to that because we're aware that a lot of your staff, a lot of you personally, don't need to pick up the phone calls. You want to go right to a website where you can get the information you need. So we're overhauling all of that as we speak to meet the brand promise. Okay, governmental affairs, our second issue here. Good looking group up here, but this is your advocacy team. lobbyists, myself, David, Karen Sherman, who's here, registered lobbyist. Actually, Terry Childress is a registered lobbyist as well. Kathy Baldwin is our support staff on that. And this is our Hunt and Williams team that we've had a good relationship here over the last 3 years with Hunton and Williams, led by Whit Clement. And the point I want to make here, and I hear this from small credit unions sometimes, hear it from large credit unions, mid-sized credit unions. If the Virginia Credit Union League never did any more for credit unions in this Commonwealth other than lobbying and legislative work, I would submit to you that the dues you pay us are well worth it, just for that. Because all of us sitting in this room today, we're creatures of law. We're creatures of law. What General Assembly delegates and senators can do to us right over here in Richmond, our congressmen and senators and all the other agencies and department heads in Washington, D.C. Can you imagine for a moment if there was no one on behalf of credit unions spending time in Richmond? We spent about 31 days down there on credit unions' behalf, just got through, and in Washington, D.C. through the National Association in your league. How long do you think it would take for someone to put bills in place that would put us all out of business? I submit to you it wouldn't take long at all. And that is a message that board of directors and CEOs and staff at credit unions have got to get. It is the most important thing that we do. And for the life of me, our 19 non-affiliated credit unions, what is their mindset on that? The mindset is they're allowing somebody else to pay their way. And we all got to tackle that as a group. But here's the team. Whit Clement, you know Whit. We've had 3 years. And let me make one other point here too. We were with Reggie Jones for 28 years. Reggie Jones did a fabulous job for us, but Reggie Jones was one person. I think the strength that we had now with Hunt and Williams is Whit and his total team. Whit, as you know, served 14 years House of Delegates from Danville, and also Secretary of Transportation under Governor Mark Warner. Well respected on both sides of the aisle. I didn't pay his, Whit didn't pay me to say all that. But well respected on both sides of the aisle. And the important thing is, can get us to meetings that we need to be at the table to talk about credit union issues. And that's what you look for in an outside lobbyist firm. Heidi Abbott, who's not here today, very strong on relationships on the Democratic side in particular. Miles Lario, particular strengths on the Republican side as well. And Phil Boykin, who just joined the team. Phil, I'll say this, and you'll be all right with it. I have a great deal of respect for Phil. We lobbied against Phil for a very long time at the Virginia Bankers Association. Phil was very good. I didn't tell him that when he was lobbying for the Virginia Bankers Association, but you know, as happens, I think Phil's seen the light. He is a member of 3 credit unions, so Phil's going to be a great addition to Whit's team and already is paying good dividends for us. Let's talk about what we're going to do in government affairs. It would be easier for us to say, hey, everything's going fine, we're doing a good job in Richmond, we're doing okay in Washington, D.C., but it's probably the best time to look at all that and say, you know what, are we positioned from a governmental affairs standpoint the way we need to be to serve credit unions in the future? We've been very good in Richmond. We've got legislation passed down there. We've stopped legislation. Washington, D.C., we've been very good stopping legislation, but you know, like I know, we have not been able to cross that hurdle to get pro-credit union legislation passed in Washington, D.C. No lack of effort from CUNA, no lack of effort from the leagues across this country, and Virginia in particular, no lack of effort by credit unions, that many of you very involved in legislation here. But we've got to do something different, because we're not driving to get pro-credit union legislation passed in Washington, D.C. So that's driving us to look at all of this. So we felt like the best way to get at this was to form a Plan to Win task force. Now, you've heard Plan to Win before. Bill Cheney came down to the annual meeting, spoke last year in Norfolk. Everywhere he goes across the country, he's talking about Plan to Win. It's a Plan to Win task force is to have a game plan for every legislator in Washington, D.C. All 50 senators, all 435 congressmen. For us, that's a game plan for our 11 congressmen and our 2 senators, so that we can get more of them on credit union legislation to support us. I'm delighted that Susan Adams here from Richmond, Susan, thank you, is going to co-chair that task force with us, representing state chartered credit unions. I think most of you know Mike Flannery, who's been a long time board of director at First Advantage, been on our governmental affairs a long time. And I told this story before, it's a true story. We were sitting in the Governmental Affairs Committee last September, and Flannery raises his hand and said, I got a question. We're very good in grassroots, grass top strategy, but it looks like more and more associations are duplicating what we do. Are we going to be the most effective moving forward the way we're doing, or do we need to change things? So here's the point. You ask the question, you chair a committee. So Mike's on the committee. Mike and Susan are already, we've had some phone calls with them. In fact, we'll be back in Lynchburg tonight. We're done in the committee. We'll be meeting tomorrow for its first meeting, looking at the structure of our governmental affairs, looking at our grassroots, grass top strategy moving forward. And I don't want to miss, because we've got Glenn from Virginia Credit Union is on that, and Patsy Stewart, representing Sale. Patsy's in the back there, so delighted with their willingness to serve on that. It's a great group. We'll be looking, and I won't go through all of these, but you can read them at your leisure. We're going to look at that across the board, VACUL, how we deal with legislators, how we meet with them, or the different ways we need to do it. Those recommendations will come back to the Governmental Affairs Committee in September, which many of you are on here in this room, and then that will be finalized and put forth to the LIG board for their final adoption. And I would suggest to you that I think we'll see some changes in governmental affairs moving forward. Positive change. We'll keep doing the same things that are successful, but I think we'll see positive changes to that, and we'll have a new plan of action going out that David Miles and Karen Sherman can lead going out in 2013. So pretty excited about where we're moving in this area.